welcome to my studio at Visual Philosophy. My name is Dana Harris Seeger. Thanks for joining me today. I want to start with some encaustic paintings today, and I created some background collage, and now we're going to add some encaustic, and I'm going to try a couple new techniques. I have some pan pastels, which I haven't used. I've used regular soft pastels and transferred those to the encaustic, but pan pastels are loose pigment that you can kind of rub into the encaustic and then heat set with the torch. So we're going to try a little bit of that. I've got my trusty oil pastels to make some marks, and I'm going to show you how to adhere some translucent paper and fabric so you can get some really cool effects with screen printing. This is a screen print and drawing, and let the underlayers show through, which is what encaustic is really great for. So let's go. So the first thing I'm going to do is tape the edges of my panels so that the wax doesn't drip down. And I've got a whole video about this, so I'll just speed up the process. If you're interested in exactly how to do that, it's pretty simple. You can watch that one. Okay, now that that's finished, I'm going to move this aside, work on one at a time. And my wax is heating up. So we can talk about what we're going to do with this one first. I'm going to put a layer of clear medium on. That way it seals all the collage and creates a nice flat, even surface. And then I'm going to start adding some color. I'm going to embed some more of the collage elements and try out my pan pastels and see if I can't get some soft kind of, color in there. All right, so first things first, we have to put a layer of clear medium onto this collage on the panel that I've sealed with acrylic matte medium. And I love these big brushes for that. The wax melts at 200 degrees, so you really don't need to keep your hot plate on any hotter than that. All right, now we get to fuse, and we'll do one more layer, and then we'll get to using our pan pastels. That one's cooling. I'm going to do the other one. So I've already laid out a little bit where I want the collage to go. I think this part of encaustic is really soothing. Just watching the clear medium go on. infuse this first layer nice and hot, it'll all smooth out. And it will also soak into, you can see in some parts of the wood where it's soaking in more than others, and into the kind of papers absorbing it. So I really like to get it embedded in there the first time. All right, so in this one, it's still a little warm, which is nice for adhering the pan pastels because they will really absorb into the surface. And I've got a few colors here, some blues and some grays and even a bright green. So let's start with this blue. I kind of like this blue. I've also got a range of applicators. I've got this big applicator, sponge, some different shapes, some smaller ones. I think I want to start with smaller one. And you just get you can see how loose it is. It's just pretty loose and almost like makeup. So I'm just gonna go ahead and apply it. And you can see it's kind of like a pastel where it's got the powder. You can blend. So I can get, you know, soft texture, soft shading. I don't have to use my finger, of course. I could use the sponge to blend. I can also use a paper towel or a rag or a Q-tip. But you can see even though I'm rubbing, it's on the surface, so it's stained on there for the most part. The powdery parts will come off, but the more you build and fuse, then the richer and deeper that tone will be, the color will be. But it's really nice, I think, as an alternative to the oil pastels, because it's just a very soft, kind of easy process to layer on. And let's say I wanted to add a slightly larger texture. Could use this one. And of course, each applicator is going to be a little bit different. If you had texture, if I hadn't blended all of this together with, by fusing it, I'll show you what that looks like, because that's kind of cool too. So let's put the lid on that guy. All right, let's fuse lightly. I'm just melting in the pastel. It kind of floats in there. And you can see it got a little bit darker too. And now what I want to do is add a texture. So I could do that with the clear medium. I could do that with, let's say, this color, which is kind of like over here, it's like a clearish white. And the cooler I apply my brush, so if I let it kind of sit out without applying right away, and then the harder and the cooler it's going to get, and the more texture it will have. So I can apply the texture, and you can see as I'm applying, it's cooling, so I'm getting more of that rough kind of texture. If I were to apply it straight out of dipping it in the, see how much smoother that is? So cooler, hotter. And if I didn't like that part, or if I wanted to scrape back any of this, I've got a few different tools that I like to do that with, some of which are my new diamond core tools. I'm super excited about these guys. So I got some of the line scrapers before, and This time they sent me, this is one of the squared off scrapers, so I can scrape and I can reposition this head depending on how I want to hold it and scrape it, so I could get really straight edges, which is awesome. And it's flat, which means that it just takes all off the surface, so I'm not gouging really like a line in it. I'm just removing an edge. Oops, pull that off. There we go. And I'm not pushing terribly hard. The one thing about wax is that it builds up. These are designed for clay, so obviously you don't have to do that with water-based clay. But let's try to make a little house shape. I'm going to show you the nice line that I can make. The warmer the wax, the deeper you can carve, the easier it is to carve. Because when the wax is warm, it doesn't take hardly any pressure to remove the wax. And I can always save this. I wouldn't want to add it back into my pot, but I could put it on my hot plate. It will remelt, and I can use it for mixing more colors. I just love these scrapers. They're like loop. Well, I guess they are loop tools. But they're so precise, and their shape is just perfect for scraping just the tiniest bit away and making it nice and even. So there's my little house. And I can lightly fuse that, and it will reabsorb into the layer below. Let's see, this one is a little bit of a rounded tool, and I could try to do it either direction, it looks like, or feels like. So if I try to go like this, it's like a wider kind of line, and I can draw the white back down to the bluish and below. Pull that off. And if I go this way, well, then it's a little bit of a sharper line. Sharper and deeper. That's kind of nice, like a big trough. If I wanted to soften it up, I could flip it over to the more scoopy part, the scoopy side, and kind of soften that up. So cool. And then of course I could adjust this with the screw if I wanted to. I think I'm gonna add some more wax to this one with some texture, and then we'll put some oh yeah, that's cool. So I can make textured ridges and carve away and keep adding to it. All right, so now that this part's fused, I'm gonna take some of my, let's see, do I have like an orangey? Look at these colors. Maybe this one. All right, so I'm gonna take one of these smaller ones, get the pastel on there, and then just rub it on. And you can see how it gets all that texture and just holds it. So I can really play with textures and build up what I want. And then layer on that color. And just keep building up like that. And then I want to, unless I want it to blend in with the next layer, like if I wanted to do a gray into this, I could do that. Just flip it over the other side. And now it's kind of blending together. But if I just wanted it to lay on top, I'd have to fuse the blue and then add my kind of grayish color. Now they're kind of blending together. Smoky. So I wanted it to stay just like that. Obviously I wouldn't want to rub it in too much because I like that kind of line. And then I'm gonna just fuse it. All right, so last thing I want to do with this one for right now is put on this little Tesla motor patent. And I'm gonna do it right there. And it's kind of right in the middle, a bit like that. That's better. And because it's on the sheer fabric, the wax is just gonna absorb right into it and you'll hardly see where there was the fabric. And I've cut the edge clean because I don't want like you to see the edge of the fabric. So get my brush. And I'm gonna go from the center out because I don't want to bunch it and wrinkle it. I want to make sure I'm covering over the whole thing. See how it's a little bit bunchy right there? Center out. And let's turn it. And I really want to make sure every area of the fabric is covered. Otherwise, you run the risk of burning it when you use the torch. It'll you literally light it on fire. Just kind of singes it, really. Okay. All right, so now I'll fuse that. And you can see how the screen print shows up really clearly. All right, so we've switched pieces and now I'm working on this painting, and I did the silk collage, and I want to show you this is Duralar. It's like a clear mylar drafting vellum that you can get, meant for water-based media, so you can put ink and anything that's screen printing, anything that's meant to be kind of liquidy on it, and it won't bleed. So I'm gonna embed this now that I have a nice smooth surface on my Encaustic painting. I'm going to embed this in there. If it was a little bit lumpy, like in that other painting with the texture, it wouldn't adhere quite as nicely. So I'm just going to do the same thing I did before and go from the center out and adhere it. You'll still see a little bit of a line. It won't be like the silk because it's not porous. The silk has a mesh with that the Encaustic medium kind of goes into. So this is going to look a little bit different, but I wanted to show you the difference in those two. And I'm really trying to get around the edge because that will help hold it down too. Let that cool, and then I'll do probably one more layer of medium so that it all gets, again, nice and smoothed out. And those are a few more caustic materials to have fun with.